Hey everybody, so I just wanted to do a quick TA video before I went to bed. Now, I want to keep this very simple because sometimes I feel like I almost overcomplicate it and cover too many tickers. So we're just going to look at three very important tickers that I believe can really summarize, where we could see possible price action. So the very first one is Apple. Now, if you guys have been following me for a while, I've been saying that Apple is one of the most manipulated stocks on the market. And that's just because of its heavy weighting in a lot of ETFs. Now, I've been saying for a while that I believe that Apple was overpriced. And, I was going through the last earnings report. And essentially, Tim Cook, he just said that revenue was going to accelerate in the September quarter, but he didn't really give us a number. But I kind of estimate that the full year of 2022 is going to have a year over year revenue increase of 8 to potentially 12%. So that's high single digit to low double digit revenue growth. So I don't quite believe that a stock like Apple can command something like a 28 or 29 PE. I believe it deserves something more along the lines of low 20s, maybe even under that. So let's just go right into the technicals. So the very first thing I want to point out is this top line. Now this top line is literally just connecting these tops right here. So this top at the beginning of the year, this top over in the end of March, and then you can see right here when I zoom in, we have that fake out, and then we reject it right there. So we also do have many lines of support. And if you guys were watching my previous videos, I mentioned that Apple has many supports, and that the one most bearish thing we could see is one strong move to the downside to break all of those supports. And that is essentially what happened right here. So we literally have this support right there and then this rising wedge. So the top of this wedge and the bottom of this wedge could have both acted as support. Now let me just go on a 5-year time frame so I can show you this trend line right here. Now this trend line has a lot of significance. It goes all the way back to 2019, and you guys can just see how it's hitting all of these moves right around here. So, we're back below that, and we closed below that on the weekly as well. So, this does look pretty darn bearish, but does this just mean, oh, okay, well, short the crap out of the market? Well, maybe or maybe not, because a lot of things can happen here. Keep in mind, we fell 3.77% in one day. It wouldn't be crazy to go and think that from here we could actually rebound and potentially hit this pivotal trend line right here. Do we go back and retest it? I mean, oftentimes when we break through things like this, we have this moment where we go back and we retest these supports that we broke through. And then, either we reject or we break through. And, either we have a false breakout or we have an actual breakout. So, that could have just been a false move right there. So who knows? But ultimately, what I'm saying is, right now, price action does look bearish, but don't just go all in on shorts because, there is always that potential that we could go back and retest this. Now, if we do go back and we retest this trend line and then we reject, well, that's going to make for a better entry. But right now, we're kind of just hanging out, like not too far away from this upper trend line right here, which as I showed you guys, it has a lot of meaning. It's touching many points, so it could very well just go back and back test that. So always do be cautious. And we did just break through essentially two major supports because you guys can see that this support was basically holding this entire rally since June. So it is basically a 2-month support, and we just broke through that as well. So definitely be careful. Now, where can we potentially go? So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys that. So I'm going to go ahead and get the rectangle tool. Well, I think the entire move can potentially swing between here. So yeah, I'm essentially looking at this area of this top trend line and everything below it to around 151.56. So that could mean right around 173.52 to 151.56, a big range between Apple. So why am I saying this? Well, if I'm just looking at Apple, I don't see a whole lot of support here. I mean, just look at this. This is a lot of chop. I don't see the like big supports right here. But the biggest support I do see is right around 151.56. Note that we have this area right here, which was rejection. And then right here we rejected, and then we had this massive rally, and we actually broke out. Right here we had this one day where we slammed underneath it, and then we quickly rebounded off of it. You can see this one-day candle, this massive one-day candle that literally bounced off this area right at 151.56. You can also see back here, we made this tiny little rejection. We came up here, we rejected again, and then we finally broke out. So this 151.50 area is very, very important. And I do believe that if we do fall to that level, I'm thinking that we could produce some sort of bounce. Is it going to be another massive dead cat? Maybe. Is it going to be the final bottom before we go back to highs of like 440, 460, 470? I don't know, maybe. But what I'm saying is that this is a very pivotal point. Now, if we do break below that, well then yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of pain. And I'm thinking like double bottom potential all the way to like with this 128.86. So definitely do be careful, you guys, but do watch this area, this 151.56 area. I do believe that that is very, very important on Apple. Now I want to go to SPY next. So I'm just going to keep it very, very simple on SPY. So when I go back to this 5-year time frame, I can find this line right here. So you guys can see how many points that this line is actually hitting. So this line goes all the way back to 2011. And you guys can see it's hitting support, 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 more support, support, support. So this line was essentially support for all of 2011 to 2014. And then it continued being support from 2014 all the way up until 2015. And then you can see that we actually went through this period of chop. So I would actually consider this right here, so that area right there, a correction through time, because we essentially went 2015, mid 2015 to mid 2016, and we just chopped around for one entire year. So this will be a correction in time. And then you guys can see that we didn't go back to retest this trend line until 2017, and then we had that 2018 crash. And then you guys can see that now, we're bouncing off of this trend line. We can also see this area where we rejected in 2020, we broke above it, and then we bounced back right off of this 2020 level over in late October, early November. Or that is late October, early November. So yeah, note that we bounced off here in June, so that was when we produced that strong bounce. So where do I think we could go now? Well, the key thing that I'm looking at are these two weekly candles. Now, these are two very big weekly candles. I mean, that is one massive reversal candle. So the range that I'm currently looking at is right within here. So that's about 413 to 388.66. Well, what happens if we break underneath that? Well, I believe that this trend line that I pointed out to you guys could act as a key support. And if we break underneath that, then we'll talk about that in another video. But this is essentially what I'm looking at right now. So I'm essentially looking at anything from around 370-ish, the low 370s, to 413 to be our potential trading range for the near future. So if we go below anything below 370, that would start signaling some potential bearishness. Now I'm talking like the next crash, because this entire move right here, this was a crash, and then we could go right back into that crash territory, that serious crash territory. So that's basically the SPY right there. Now the VIX, I've been talking about the VIX for quite some time, and I've been pointing out this falling wedge to you guys for a while. And you guys can see we seriously broke out of this wedge. I mean, that is a very bullish candle on the VIX. Now, where can VIX go from here? Well, I think it could go from around 24 to 28.74. That would be the next big range for me. Now, pay attention to this massive candle right there. Well, where did it get cut off? It got cut off right at 28.74. What about this massive green candle right there? Same place. So what happens if we get back above 28.74? Well, I would say the next big trading area is going to be between that 28.74 area to 33.31. So if I zoom out, you guys can see that this is an area that's hit quite a bit. Right there, and right there. So if we do get back above this, well then, yeah, we're going to see 40, which is pretty crazy on the VIX. So that basically concludes this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and good luck next week.